Okay, Peter.
All right, I call to order the Paxton Select Board meeting for Monday, August 11th, 2025. We are coming from the training room of the Public Safety Complex as well as on Zoom. First up, we've got 8 consent items. Number 1, approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting held on July 21, 2025. Appoint election officers for the term of September 1, 2025 through August 31st, 2026. To approve and sign the warrant for the special town election to be held on Monday, September 8th, 2025. To appoint Robert Birkbeck, interim town administrator, to the following positions starting August 15th, 2025. And these will be until his position as interim town administrator is completed. That is ADA coordinator, capital improvement planning committee, economic development committee, liaison to the state ethics commission, open space and recreation planning committee, records access officer, sale of town-owned property committee, sexual harassment officer, and Worcester Regional Transit Authority. We were also to appoint John Mathis as to the Conservation Commission with an end date of June 30th, 2027. We are to approve the request from Brian Wood to place a sign on the town common for an electronics recycling event to be held at St. Columba Church, August 16th, 2025. I think that's this Saturday, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so this Saturday. To approve a request from the Paxton Garden Club to use the town common for their annual Paxton Garden Club plant sale to be held on June 6th, 2026. Way to get out in front of that and get in early. Good job. And to approve allowing Travis Tebow, Director of Public Works, the authorization to apply for a USDA loan in order to move forward with the replacement of Phase 1 of the West Street Water Main project. Are there any concerns regarding those 8 items?
No.
Nope.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to just, it's a minor one, but Donna, on the meeting minutes, we don't need via Zoom next to Kirk.
Okay.
Because everybody was via Zoom. Okay, but hearing no other objections, then we will consider those passed. And we are on to our department and board committees updates. And we have Jeff Cormier to provide an update for the Recreation Commission. Come on up, Jeff. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, folks.
Welcome.
Thank you. So we've got a couple of projects and enhancements, I guess if you want to call it that. First and foremost, we are looking to expand the Clingley parking lot. PYS has expressed some concerns over safety with the traffic flow and with the number of vehicles that are going on in that parking lot. Since they expressed that concern, we've since changed the traffic flow of that parking lot, and so we swapped out a couple signs to direct traffic to enter over by the the building and exit out on the far side. We've also ordered some brand new signs just to make it a little more transparent or a little more identifiable what we want them to go and do. And PYS also painted some arrows on the ground to be able to also aid with that. And so with the effort to alleviate that, that congestion, we're looking to expand the upper parking lot by approximately 9,200 square feet. So it's under the 10,000 square feet, so we don't need a permit for it. We've already gotten Conservation Commission approval for it. And then, Don, did you have those images?
No.
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 Okay. So I can provide you folks with the images. It's basically a Google overlay with the property maps just to demonstrate that. There's 2 other town-owned properties in that vicinity. So we've had the property surveyed, and they've plotted this. They've plotted it as of today, and they will be staking it within the next couple of days to be able to knock some trees down, get an idea of what the topography is, And then the expectation is that it'll be manageable to be able to then go in and create a parking lot out of that area. And so we've already gotten bids for the tree removal. It's actually going to be TW tree from town. And that's what we're looking for there.
We do have the images, we just...
Okay,
Yeah, we've both
good.
got the images, Jeff.
Great. Well, so along with that, the other improvements that we've done is we installed a smart timer at Tiverton to be able to manage the field watering better. Now the field won't be watered in the middle of a rainstorm. We're also looking to install smart timers at Klingler too. We're looking to do an overseed on Klingler. The field's not looking that great right now. And so in order to better facilitate that, we're going to be installing smart timers there also. With that, we've already gotten the approval from the Water Commission back in January of '23 to install a well at Tiverton. Right now, the last two water bills was $500 and $1,000, and we're expecting this next water bill to be upwards of $1,000 because of how dry it's been. The recreation director is now is in process of training for using a new field management and scheduling software. It's going to be a lot more user-friendly than it is now. We're looking to basically divest the paper and do everything, all the booking, the signing up for teams, everything through online, and eliminate as much cash transactions as possible also. So she'll have a mobile device and be able to do that at, say, dodgeball or basketball or anything like that. There's a couple missing or damaged tiles at the basketball court, so we're looking to fix those. Those are actually sitting in my truck right now. And we're also installing 4 new basketball hoops at the outdoor basketball court on the sides. And also, there was some vandalism done at the dugouts at Klingler and the other center field dugouts. So we've had those fixed under an insurance claim, and then we also install some security cameras too, to be able to hopefully not have that again or figure out who's doing that damage. Mm-hmm. And lastly, the big news, if you guys want to come up.
Good, how are you?
Hi.
I'll let Tony take over.
Let me go first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I'll make my part of this quick because everyone really wants to hear what you have to say. So for anyone, I'm Tony Dominic, and I'm the chair of the Economic Development Committee, for anyone who doesn't know me. I know most people would like us to find $2 million in revenue, but we keep looking and it's not out there, so we do other things too. So, I mean, hopefully there'll be big revenue projects like that, we get it, but right now, a lot of our focus is on littler things that just make the town a better place to live, right? You know, and that's attracting new businesses, expanding opportunities for our existing businesses, networking, getting people just out of their houses and in the center of town, talking to each other. So that, you know, just leads me to a couple things that we've been doing lately, and this is one of the big ones, right? So, I mean, everybody knows we kind of helped get Charcuterie Woo into the center of town, and that's been a lot of fun. So not long ago, I was just down at, digging up the softball fields for the middle school softball team, and we had an idea and said, like, these snack shacks just sit here and there's nothing going on, so why don't we do something with them? And then I reached out to our awesome recreation people and said, can we use these for some sort of a pop-up or something other than, than what's going on with them? And then that led to me and my wife Molly going out to get food at the Haven, which is an awesome place if you haven't been there. Its only downfall is it's not in Paxton. Everything else is great about it. So we just had a great conversation with Yvonne and said, how do we get this? Would this be a good thing? So she has a just phenomenal background, great ideas, and between her and Jeffrey and Kathy talking, so I'm gonna let you take over and go through what the actual plan is, but that's kind of where we landed with this.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne. I'm the owner of The Haven, which is a cafe event space in Rutland. And I met Tony, a couple weeks ago for breakfast, and he brought up this idea, and I thought it was phenomenal because I think that food and fun always come together. My background's Phantom Gourmet, and that's what I've done for years. I ran the Menden Drive-In, the director of operations for them for years. So I think that I can take my expertise and bring it to Paxton. I think we could have a lot of fun with this. So I plan on doing ice cream, soft drinks, energy snacks, pop-up breakfasts. I probably won't do it like the first weekend, kind of get a feel of everything with my staff and stuff like that. But everybody loves my Gavin sandwiches. I don't know if you've heard of the Gavin sandwich, but it's a potato patty sandwich. Instead of bread, it's potato patties. People love it. And then I was going to do some lunch specials, smash burgers, chili, just have fun with it. I think the foot traffic in Paxton with this field would be phenomenal for me as well. It's a challenge up at the farm. The farm is more of like a destination. So I still do events up there. I still do pop-up breakfast here and there. But I think for me, having a presence over at the field would be really, really great. And I'm really excited for it, too.
Good.
That's awesome.
You guys have any questions for me?
So just to clarify, this is going to be at Klingler, not Tiverton, right? Just,
Yeah, we had a conversation, and the conversation actually originated at Tiverton, but then talking through the number of participants for the two fields.
Yeah.
It just kind of made more sense to use Klingler instead.
yep.
Yeah, and so it'll be 9 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays, and it just with the number of kids that participate in soccer, giving them healthy options, hot options to be able to have rather than a bag of M&Ms. I think it's going to be a lot more enticing.
Yep.
And then you're also going to get the added foot traffic from people going to Knoyers. And then you'll also have the walk-up traffic from across the street at Anna Maria, hopefully after a long Friday night.
I'll be marketing Anna Maria too. I already got customers waiting for me to open at Klingler Field so they can come have breakfast.
That's great.
And if anybody has any ideas for activities, I can help as well. If you guys have any ideas to use that field to do events or anything like that, I'm your woman, so.
Great.
Awesome.
When are we getting a walking track over there, Jeff? Because then we can walk and get breakfast.
Oh, I like that.
I like that.
You can walk it all.
Walk up to Gavin. Baby steps. Any other questions?
Anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Great job. All right, next up, we have the Paxton Garden Club with a presentation to request space for a shed using the lower lot of the public safety complex. And again, you guys have pictures of this.
Yes. You got it.
Sorry for the delay. Thank you very much. I'm Robin Tasca. I am the president of the Paxton Garden Club, and this is Julie DeBew, our secretary. So we appreciate you taking the time to let us speak this evening. Just go into slideshows now. All right. So we're here to ask for a shed. But before that, in case anybody's not familiar with the Garden Club, either on the board or in the community, a little bit about us. We've been around since 2020 as a Facebook group, then became a club, and we've been doing all kinds of things. We are the reason why there's flowers everywhere in town. 3 ways that we give back to the community. We offer community service, i.e. the flowers. We offer an educator grant to a teacher in Paxton. We will give them up to $500 to a program with students. And then we also offer public programming, about 8 to 10 lectures a year that are open to everybody, either at the COA or at the library. Before I begin, I do want to give a huge shout out to White's Home Service and Lawn Care. Jeremy White is a Paxton resident and veteran-owned business. I put a call out on social media asking for a landscaper to help the garden club out, kind of clean up the town hall so that we can put some perennial beds in for you this fall. And he answered the call. He spent the entire morning with his team cutting down a disease tree, thanks to the tree warden's permission, which the tree warden was grateful for because he has no budget, so we helped him out there. Getting rid of diseased shrubs, pruning back other shrubs. He got the bittersweet vine out of the flowering dogwood, which was really nice, and then took care of all the weeds so that this fall we will be planting all kinds of perennials, so you'll have year-round color at the town hall. So that's coming soon, but I do want to acknowledge that because that was a huge amount of time and money that he gave to the garden club complimentary.
Very nice.
So our shed. So we take care of all these gardens all over town. We're actually going to be doing some stuff up at Collingville Field as well. We need a place to store all the tools that we use to take care of all these gardens. So we're looking for a small 6x10 metal shed. I have a picture of it in a moment. Thankfully, the fire chief and police chief were wonderful enough to offer up this small space. It is directly next to their metal pod. So it's just wasted space. The DPW director would be very grateful because a little less he would have to mow if our shed was in that spot. So that would be helping the DPW, who is limited. If we do get permission for this shed, we would have it up by the end of October. We have a couple of members that will put it together. As I said, we have the endorsements from everybody. We'd be happy to sign a waiver exempting the town from any liability because we understand that it is on town property. We are a garden club under the Garden Federation of Massachusetts, and we have liability insurance through them, so we do not expect anything. There will be a combo lock on it. Only leadership will have access to it, and Roger, our resident gardener. There's nothing of significant value. We would be disappointed if we lost the things in the shed, but it would not make or break the club in any way, shape, or form. So this is the spot. It's right down where the police park. We figure it's pretty safe because I don't think anybody's going to try and do anything where the police cruisers are, hopefully anyways. And it's the flat spot that you can see right next to the trailer. And this is what it would look like. Just a simple lean-to shed, 6x10, metal, double doors with a lock. And we'd be ordering it from Amazon. So my official request is, can we put a shed here, please? Of course, have your discussion and answer any questions.
May I have a motion first?
I move that we allow the Paxton Garden Club to place a shed in the designated location.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion or questions for our garden club?
The only question that I have is I can see with the way that the roof slants will push snow up against that trailer. So I'm just wondering if there's a thought process around maybe leaving some space between the shed and the trailer to give the snow somewhere to go.
Yep. So the fire chief and police chief were thinking that we could do like about 5 feet. It's going to go to, here, I'm going to come over here. It's basically going to go right here. So when the snow falls off, it's just going to fall into the bittersweet.
Perfect.
So it's opening to the road.
We don't care about the
Worry about it,
bittersweet.
right.
Yep.
Right.
So, and we're going to have it not directly on the curb, but, you know, enough that in the winter we'll be able to shovel if we need to get in to access it or whatnot. But we're totally taking responsibility for that. We're not expecting anything from anyone else.
Perfect.
Any other questions or comments?
No?
Is Kirk with us? Is Kirk with us? Okay, so hearing no other questions or comments, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. You're all set.
Very much. We are extremely.
Thank you for all your work and for everything you've done.
Thank you. And don't miss, we have, I'm just going to plug a couple of upcoming events. We have a free lecture about mushrooms on Thursday at the library. We have a foraging field trip walk at the Mass Rail Trail. We are selling flowers out of Paxton Marketplace every Friday. They're fresh cut, beautifully arranged for no more than $15, so that's a fundraiser. And we're partnering with the library to do our first ever book in Bloom's flower show. So,
Great.
And we've got 2 opening receptions for that. So thank you again. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a plant sale on June 6th,
Yes, please
2026.
support that. Thank you again very much.
Okay, next up, we have an informational session on the MBTA Community Act.
I know, it says, I can see it.
I don't want to forget him if he's here. Kirk, can you hear us?
Donna, just tap Be a Vanna White over there and tap Kirk. Let's see what we get.
Nope.
Kirk, can you hear us?
He's got his...
He's muted.
Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
Yay.
Excellent.
You want me to help you with your slides?
Sorry about that, Kirk. I wasn't sure if you were
I
there.
wonder why I kept talking and nobody was saying anything.
You didn't catch on.
All right, thank you very much. Roberta Bryan, Zoning Board of Appeals Chair, so I have to flip my hat for a second. Also representing our loosely formed working group of MBTA communities tonight. If you recall, I was here in April, I think, and we discussed the looming deadline of MBTA communities and how the town of Paxton is working towards compliance of this law. Since then, we have had the pleasure of being introduced to Will Radigan of CHAPA, as well as another consultant, Jeff Davis of Horsley Witten, who's been loaned to us through Mass Housing Partnership. Both Will and Jeff will be working with us in the committee and the community between now and probably the warrant, the deadline for the warrant article, to do community engagement, to explain the process of the MBTA communities and the reasons for it. Jeff, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, will be in charge of the technical aspects of the MBTA communities bylaw, as well as the plans showing potential overlays throughout the town that the community will be involved in selecting and discussing, and whether those areas of the town will meet the compliance needs that MBTA communities specifies. So we thought it would be a great kickoff to introduce Will to the Select Board tonight and to the community and those at home. And Jeff will be here at a later date, and Will's going to outline sort of what we're all doing, what MBTA Communities is, how it's evolved through the years since its inception, and him being in charge of community engagement, just some loose base plans on the number of meetings and how we'll be progressing towards compliance. Will?
Okay. Thank you all so much for having me, and thanks, Roberta, for the invitation.
Welcome.
Thank you. I do have some slides. I'm not sure if they should be popping up already, or if technical difficulties.
Shouldn't.
Worst case, I can just talk.
No, that's a shade. That just puts it out. Well, it must be, is it?
There we go.
Good job.
Okay, and I'll make sure I talk into the mic for anyone watching online. We do have an online audience.
We do.
Okay.
Including one of our Select Board members.
Okay, well, better really talk into it. Although general public is just as important. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for having me. Really appreciate the invitation to be here. I've been working with Roberta for a few months on understanding the MBTA Communities Act, what it means for Paxton, and how you can move forward with complying with it. My name is Will Radigan. I work for an organization called the Citizens Housing and Planning Association. We're a statewide nonprofit that works to make housing more affordable in Massachusetts through education on housing policy and connecting individuals and families with homeownership opportunities. And for about the last 2 years, since this big law has come through the pipes, a lot of my work has been on explaining what this law means to communities, where it came from, what it's hoping to achieve, and the process for communities to comply with it. So I'll just give a brief overview of what the law is, what it means, where it came from, and then the process that Paxton could think about following over the next few months to achieve compliance. We believe this, or I should say CHAPA believes that this law will help make housing more affordable, but I'm not here to tell you what to do in relation to the law. That's really up to you as the Select Board and community. So I just want to be here to tell you a bit about it and answer any questions you might have. So just a quick primer on what it is. Select Board may know this already, but for the general public, I'll go through it anyway. MBTA Communities Act was a law that was passed by the legislature in 2020, signed by Governor Charlie Baker in 2021, so very broad bipartisan support across a Democratic legislature and a Republican governor. And what it does, very simply, is it asks every community that is served by or near the MBTA transit system to allow some property owners in some part of town the right to build multifamily housing, only if they choose to do so. So no one is being forced to build anything, but towns are required to give some property owners this option to build multifamily housing. It enables communities to choose where they would like to allow property owners to build multifamily housing. And the goal is really to cut some of the red tape and regulations that have made it more difficult to build middle-class housing for Massachusetts. It's really a law about market rate housing that hopefully will be affordable to middle-class people. A little background on where we are. So Paxton, kind of at the end of this process, there were 4 categories of communities that had different requirements for complying. Paxton was in the adjacent small town category, so the smallest town that had to comply with this. And while most communities have had to comply with this about a year ago or the year before, Paxton's deadline is the end of this year, so kind of on the tail end of this. All the towns in blue in this map have already complied, and then the ones in gray, like Paxton, still face a deadline at the end of this year. As you can see, there are a couple communities in red that have missed their deadlines, but I think contrary to what you may have seen in the media coverage around this, the vast majority of communities have gone through the steps and found a way to comply with this law. We're at 140 of 177 right now. So a little background on why it was passed and what problem it was trying to solve. This is really a law that was intended to create more opportunities to build housing for middle-class people. And to illustrate that point, I always like to point some local data because this housing affordability problem isn't something that just applies to our more expensive areas around Boston. It's really something that's pretty statewide, and in towns like Paxton, it's a factor as well. So just pulling some data on housing affordability, I looked at, for a representative middle-class job, what's easy to find online always is teacher starting salary. So I looked at the Wachusett teacher contract. Starting salary is $53,000 a year. What we consider to be affordable housing is if you're spending no more than 30% of your income on housing before tax. If you're spending more than that, you're going to be struggling to afford your car, education for your children, food, healthcare, all the basic necessities. So if you're making $53,000 a year, you can afford to pay a little over $1,300 a month in rent or on your mortgage. The problem is that while many middle-class people can afford to pay about $1,300, average rent in Massachusetts is $2,400, probably a little lower in Paxton, but couldn't find data that granular. And in Paxton, the monthly payment on your average home, which costs $560,000, comes out to about $3,400 if you're buying a home right now. A lot of people might have lower mortgages if they've lived here a while, but that's the situation for someone trying to buy a home in this community right now. And so there's this mismatch. Middle-class people just can't afford to rent or buy in Massachusetts, and that's a major issue if you're someone who wants to make your home here. And a little more background on this. This was, MBTA Communities Act was included as part of an economic development package. So we kind of have the moral argument that middle-class people should be able to afford to live here, but the reason this was an economic development package is that high home prices have been driving out working-age people from Massachusetts. This graph here is a graph of domestic migration rates in and out of Massachusetts. And what you can see is that although we've been gaining some college students over the last couple of years, and our 65 plus and 45 to 64 populations are fairly steady, we're seeing this pretty rapid drop-off of people from the ages of 25 to 44. And that's the age when people are launching their careers, they're buying their first homes, they're starting families, and they are leaving. And they're going to places like Ohio, Texas, Florida, where housing is cheaper. And that's not just conjecture. In surveys that have been done of people in that age group, the number 1 in 3 reasons for leaving the state have been expensive rent and ability to buy a home. So it's not a mystery why people are leaving. So hopefully this law will be creating some housing that middle-class people trying to launch their careers and start their families can afford and then stay in Massachusetts. So why has housing become so expensive, and what solutions could there be? The simple answer, and there are of course many reasons, but the most important answer is supply and demand. We lived in a market-based economy, capitalist economy. The prices of most things are determined by supply and demand, and in Massachusetts, we've simply been building a lot less housing than we used to. So this is a graph of housing production in Massachusetts over the last few decades. You can see that we used to build a lot in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And we especially, in dark blue, used to build a lot of multifamily housing, so apartments, townhomes, triple deckers, et cetera. And in the 1990s, that really dropped off for both categories, but especially for multifamily housing. And that is recovering a little bit with multifamily housing now, but we're still not seeing a return to anything like the housing production levels we saw in the 60s through 80s. And that means that since we're building fewer homes, there are still a lot of people that want to live here and enjoy the quality of life that we have here, and so we're seeing property values really go up. And the shortage of multifamily homes that tend to be cheaper historically has become especially severe. So this law is trying to solve that problem of low home production, and is trying to do that by asking towns to make zoning reforms. So for the general public, I think it's important to talk a little bit about what zoning is and what it means. So zoning is very simply the set of rules that towns make for how people can use the property that they own, the land that they own, and it determines what that land can be used for, whether it can be residential, commercial, industrial, determines the shape, the height and size of buildings, how far buildings should be back from the road, whether there can be a certain amount of parking, et cetera. And right now, the issue we have is that only 4% of the land in Massachusetts allows property owners to build more than 4 units on those properties. Everywhere else, or in 96% of the land in Massachusetts, you can build a single-family home, but you can't build anything more. And that's an issue because it pushes out, one, people that can't afford a single-family home, but also anyone that might want to live in any other kind of home for any reason, be it older folks who are trying to downsize from their large single-family homes, people who are single, young couples trying to be first-time home buyers. And one thing I hear a lot, too, is divorced parents who might want to stay in a school district with a lot of single-family homes, but it doesn't make sense for them to live in a whole large house by themselves. So it's trying to create options to do that by relaxing some of our really tight zoning restrictions a little bit. And one thing to be clear on for this is that zoning alone is not the source of all of our housing issues in Massachusetts. We can't solve everything with this. We still have a lot of issues with costs of home production, expensive labor, expensive materials, et cetera. But if we don't have zoning that allows for more housing to be built, we can't do anything. So it's really a first step. It's not a last step. Okay, so let's get down to what this looks like for Paxton. So Paxton is in this adjacent small town category, which means it has the smallest requirements for complying with this law. So you don't have to make a whole lot of changes, but there is a short process you have to go through. So Paxton has to look at designating roughly 6 acres in town where property owners could have the right to build multifamily housing at up to 15 homes per acre. And I'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. I'm going to show some examples in the next slide. And because there's no transit station here, the town has a tremendous amount of flexibility in where you decide to do that. So you could allow multifamily housing just anywhere in town, except publicly, educationally, or institutionally owned land. Like schools, universities, et cetera. And even then, if those property owners have an intention to build housing, you can include those areas. So if the town has any intention of developing municipally owned land, the town has the option to include that in the district. Also can include wetland resource areas, rivers, streams, for obvious reasons. You can't build anything there. And you can't include protected conservation land for obvious reasons as well. Thing to be really clear on this is that because the town chooses a certain area to allow property owners the right to build multifamily housing does not mean any owner has to do that or has to make any change. Property owners who are placed into one of these multifamily zoning districts can keep using the land as they have been. They merely get an additional option for what they can do with their property. So the town has to allow 15 units per acre. I always like to show visual examples of what that looks like because the big top line point here is that it's not skyscrapers, it's not big apartment buildings. It's really this kind of missing middle housing that is everything between a single family home and an apartment building. So it can look like townhouses, triple deckers, small apartment buildings, but it's not high rises. So a couple examples of 15 units per acre near Paxton. In Spencer, you have a 2-family that's on a 0.13 acre lot. That comes out to exactly 15 units per acre. So if you choose some smaller lots, you could look to see projects like that. Slightly larger lots, a third of an acre in Leicester. You have 6 units in this building here. That actually comes up to 19, so that's even denser than you have to allow. And then to show an example of kind of how small of a density 15 units per acre is, you have a property in Holden that has 23 units on almost an acre, and that comes out to 27 units per acre, so almost twice what you need to be building. So even this kind of pretty modest apartment building here is more dense than what Paxton is required to allow. And one thing to remember here is that if you choose smaller lots, you'll probably get smaller projects like this. Larger lots, you'll see larger scale projects, but they'll be at a similar kind of density to these kind of buildings. A little bit more about why 15 units per acre. This is the state's way of trying to provide housing for people that are middle class, because we don't have a lot of this housing, and right now, if you are making more than $138,000 a year, you can afford a single-family home. And if you're making less than $72,000 a year, you can qualify for some kind of deed-restricted affordable housing that requires you to make below a certain income. But if you're anywhere between that range, you can't afford a single-family home, you don't qualify for affordable housing, you need to buy something on the open market, but there aren't options available for you. So that's what this kind of incentivizing townhomes, triple deckers, et cetera, is trying to do, is really provide options for those people in the middle. So, told you a bit about what the state requires you to allow. There's also a lot that the town can do in putting guidelines around what can be built in multifamily areas. So the town can do a lot there. It can regulate maximum heights of buildings. It can regulate how far buildings need to be from roadways and from other buildings. It can regulate how much of a lot has to be open space. It can ask property owners to have some kind of vegetation, screening buildings from roads. It can also have some basic architectural guidelines, and probably most significantly, you can choose whether to require up to 10% of units in any new development to be affordable for people who make less than 80% of your area median income, $72,000. I know you already have an inclusionary zoning bylaw in the books, so it could just look like applying that to this new zoning district as well. One important thing you can't do, because some towns have wanted to do this, is you can't try to exclude families or young people from living in these new developments by putting any kind of age requirement on what can be built. So hopefully I'm not going on too long, but I'll try to speed up. So you may have read in the media there's been a couple legal cases that have challenged this law, so I just want to review how those have gone and how that's affected things. So the first big case was Milton versus the Attorney General. This is when Milton voted not to comply with the law about 2 years ago. And so the state decided to sue Milton to ask them to comply. The Supreme Judicial Court, the highest court in Massachusetts, ruled in that case, and they ruled pretty clearly that this law, MBTA communities, is constitutional and it is enforceable. It's not an optional program. It's part of state zoning law. And the only major change is that the state reissued the initial guidelines as regulations to give them some more legal force. So no major changes there. The more recent one you might have heard of is that Duxbury and 8 other communities sued the state, arguing that this law was an unfunded mandate, with the argument that it was asking them to do things the state wasn't providing funding for. Again, the courts ruled that this law is not an unfunded mandate. Zoning is a regular function of municipal government, and there's no clear indication that this would cost towns more money than it would bring in through new tax revenue. So again, it did not change the law. It stayed on the books. So both these cases didn't really change much, but it's important to, I think, review what happened there. And I think it's also important to review what would happen if Paxton decides not to adopt a multifamily zoning district by the end of this year. So the town would lose eligibility for 17 state grants, fund stuff like community planning, road and sidewalk projects, land conservation, flood resilience, economic development, and would just make the town less competitive for grant funding in general outside of those categories. And the second thing that we do know now, after a lot of buildup, is that the Attorney General released a brief just a few weeks ago that promises to bring enforcement lawsuits against any communities that have chosen not to comply by the end of this year. We don't know exactly what the results of those lawsuits would be. The way it would probably play out is that the Attorney General would ask a judge to compel towns to comply in whatever way the judge deems just and proper. And some of the potential options could be just fines and fees. It could be the judge appointing an official to draw up a zoning district for the town that meets the needs of the law. or it could just mean that the town wouldn't be allowed to deny applications for multifamily housing until some kind of zoning bylaw is in place. So hopefully it doesn't come to any of that, but just good to know what could happen. So what are some of the next steps towards compliance? The first thing is hopefully more of this with the community. Hopefully people in town can understand what this law requires of the community and what changes need to be made. And the first goals of that process need to be, one, choosing an area in town, again, only 6 acres, so very small part of the town, where multifamily housing could be allowed. The town also needs to work on writing a zoning bylaw, which could regulate things like height, setbacks, design guidelines, et cetera. And then you have the option to submit that to the state for pre-review to make sure it's compliant before you go to town meeting and vote on it. Before then, some of the things I recommend is collect some feedback from the community on where folks think multifamily housing would be suitable. I know the working group has done a lot of work on that already and has identified a couple of really good areas. But try to get feedback so when you're going to town meeting, there's some consensus behind that, hopefully. Same thing on the bylaw, see what kind of setback design guidelines people want. And then try to do as much public outreach as possible before town meeting, and that's something that I'm available to help with. We have funding to do this, no cost to the town, so I'm happy to help with more public information sessions. We have info sheets, mailers, social media graphics, whatever you need to explain this law to the community. And then I think also the town boards and commission can do a lot of work holding office hours and explaining this to the community. So with that's my general overview of the law. I know, Roberta, there's a couple of proposed district locations we have in mind. I don't know if you want to talk about that now. Jeff, who's our other consultant, is the one who's running the model to figure that out. But maybe you can give a quick preview before we
Sure.
go to questions.
As part of the working group committee, we worked with CMRPC as our prior consultant who was helping us with our zoning bylaw review and revision that occurred just in June. And up to that point, there were 3 locations, primarily along 122 and Grove Street, that we identified, mostly to kind of test the modeling with CMRPC, figure out what 6 acres looked like, and then had implemented and started to draft a zoning bylaw that talked about 30% open space, certain adjacencies to other buildings, if there were multiple buildings within the new development, unlike the one in Holden that we saw that had 1 building, and what it looked like from the street, and also traffic impact. So was it closer to the line with Worcester, which would truly be a commuter type of housing, people that are looking to get to the MBTA, or did that create too much of a traffic issue taking a left onto 122 in the morning? So we looked at a lot of those. I believe Heather had invited some of the property owners or in some of the neighborhoods to a discussion. Only one group did respond to that offer and meet with her. And I feel like at this point, since we now know so much more, since our zoning bylaws have been adopted and are waiting AG approval from June, we should start with asking the community what they think. We have some ideas based on modeling. Jeff will be doing the remainder of our modeling and will really be helping us focus on creating a zoning bylaw that will comply, hopefully the first time. But I think we want to hear from the community as well, and here are we far off in the 3 areas, the 3 general areas in the town that we selected? Are we not thinking of other areas that might be more beneficial? I think people will have different strategies of how to get to compliance, and we're interested in hearing that.
So I think with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the law in general or what the strategy might be going forward for identifying the best possible district and designing your bylaw.
So I have a quick question, just because I'm just a new member to the board here. We're 105 days away from deadline. How are we proceeding time-wise? Are we in lockstep with what the calendar tells us we should be doing?
I would say the ideal timing would have been to start before this, but given we did have an attempt at zoning revisions in November and tried at that town meeting to take them separately and carve out our business district, and unfortunately that didn't happen, so we had to wait until June. And then those bylaws are what the state is looking at against our proposed bylaw. So we couldn't have done it before June, because then we would have said, assuming the town makes these changes, this is what our zoning bylaw would be reflective of. So we had to wait until June. And now, with the assistance through Mass Housing Partnership of being able to engage with CHAPA and with Jeff, we are really ready to start. So is it ideal? No. But I think with Will's expertise of the postcard campaign, the informational sessions, getting things out on the website, with the town's help, and being available for communications, I think that's going to be effective. I think we'll probably be in lockstep with the Charter Review Committee at some of these events and asking people a lot of questions for a lot of feedback and advice. The important thing is to try to reach as many people as possible, because what we don't want to happen is we get to town meeting and folks say, I didn't know any about this. I didn't hear. Like, what are we talking about? Why is this here? So not ideal. I agree with you. Going to do the best we can with 105 days. Talk maybe about whether other warrant articles need a little bit more time, and November isn't the right time for who doesn't want to be at town meeting in December? Who doesn't? Yeah, we're going to use all the time we have to get the maximum outreach.
I have a quick question. So I think when you were here in April, we were talking about submitting for pre-review. What's the status of that?
So we elected to not, because with CMRPC, there was some confusion about whether or not we wanted to spread the district amongst more than one parcel, and then there was the, it's not the contingency, the like adjacency, the continuity. Just we really, I think CMRPC did the best they could, but didn't have the same expertise that Will and Jeff brought. So we were starting to get into this sphere of what ifs rather than this, is going to this is what will be accepted. I don't think, I think Jeff and Will have more experience in seeing what had been accepted and what has been accepted to really give us some confidence, because at that time it was a 90-day review period. I believe it's much shorter now because they're so, there's far less communities that are trying to get that pre-adoption. We may still try, I think, in talking with Jeff to prepare for our meetings coming up. We don't have to. It's not a requirement now to get the pre-adoption, because so many bylaws have gone through. We feel like we can pick and choose from all of those, put something together that would be in compliance, and put that forward at town meeting. And I think there's also a provision with the Attorney General that if it needs to be tweaked, if it's slightly out of compliance but generally acceptable, then we will be given that grace period.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with preview, it's great to do if you can, but if the town can't get to it, I think Jeff and I can put together a bylaw that we're pretty certain will comply. And then again, if there are some small issues, you're not going to face consequences from the state for missing the deadline. What they've done with towns that have small issues is just identified them, given them back to the town to fix, but kept the town in compliance because they've been showing good faith progress towards compliance.
I don't have any other questions.
I'd just like to make a comment that I think what I've seen in this presentation is great information. I would love for us to, can we get a copy of that presentation so that we can post it? Yeah, and push it out maybe. And I already feel like we're in good hands. So thank you for coming in, and thank you for finding him.
Yeah, thank you for the kind words. And absolutely happy to share this and share a lot more resources too. I think one of the issues Roberta and I talked about is that, if I'm correct, you don't have a dedicated town planner right now. And so usually there's a town planner who can take care of like posting all this information. So in your case, I'm happy to try to fill the void as much as I can. But I don't have access to your website. I can't mail the postcards for you. So I do need like someone at the town who's able to make that connection with me. I'm happy to make the webpage for this. Happy to publicize this presentation. Give you flyers and one-pagers. I just need a way to get them out.
Yep.
I'd love to figure out the best way to do that.
We can certainly connect you probably with Donna to start with, and Donna will help you get to the right places.
Okay, sounds great.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Anything else? Kirk, anything?
Oh, he might not be able to speak because of the...
Oh, because my presentation's blocking it?
I think this presentation was very straightforward, and I think everybody will be able to understand,
Yeah.
Even if you've never seen it before, you'd have some idea.
Because there's a lot of questions
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of just rumors and misinformation
Yeah.
circulating, I think. People imagine like skyscrapers. It's just simply not what we're talking about. The town can put a 2-story cap on new development and be done with it. So not that you need to, but there's just a lot of rumors. So hopefully getting good information out to folks should help.
Well, you also touched on the fact that the information in the media is not necessarily what we need to hear to understand moving forward.
Certainly. I think the towns that don't like this have gotten all the spotlight.
Correct.
The 140 towns that have done this no problem, there's no news coverage because zoning is not that interesting to everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kirk, is there any you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you so much for the presentation.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
Can I just say that we've never been against this bylaw at all?
Right.
We're just waiting for the process to go through.
Yep.
But
Yeah, for sure.
The board's never been against the MBTA
Yeah.
bylaw, not at all.
Great.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, oh, for sure,
But
yeah.
there was mention at one stage that we weren't moving forward with it, and that's never been the case. It's been in good hands, so.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Roberta has my contact information, so if the select board has any questions about how to move forward, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate
That's
it.
it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes us to new business. And first up, we have received a request from David Bloom to be reinstated to his prior position on the planning board. And I was CC'd on an email this afternoon. Julie, I think you did some looking into this, if you want to pick that up.
Yeah, so perhaps we should read the request first, just to give a little bit of background.
Just give me a second here. I don't think I had that. Did I, is that in the?
It's on page 24.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. There we go. All right. Select Board Chair Peter Bogren Jr., I am requesting that my prior position on the Planning Board be reinstated by the Select Board. Upon my appointment to the Finance Committee, I was told by the town moderator, Roger Brunel, that I must resign from all boards and committees. I have since learned that the Select Board has the authority to reinstate my prior Planning Board position. I am requesting that this be considered at the August 11th Select Board meeting. The Planning Board Chairman, Neil Bagdis, is also requesting this to ensure there is a quorum with upcoming MBTA activity. This is stuff that we just listened to. Please do not hesitate to contact me if you would like to discuss further. And I believe then you pulled up Massachusetts General Law, Section 81A.
Right, so we've done this a few times where we've had to make an interim appointment to the planning board or another elected board or committee, and so it's come up a couple of times in the last few years how we go about doing this. And unfortunately, there is really no process for us to be able to reinstate a prior appointment. What would be required is governed by state law, so that is MGL Chapter 41, Section 81A, as Peter mentioned, which says if the members of a planning board are elected, any unexpired term shall be filled by appointment by the Board of Selectmen and the remainder of the members of the planning board until the next annual election, at which time such office shall be filled by election for the remainder of the unexpired term. So what it appears we actually need to do is call a joint meeting of the Select Board and the remaining members of the Planning Board in order to make the appointment that way.
Correct. So that leaves us with basically nothing to do this evening necessarily, except we have to reach out to Mr. Bagdis and set up that joint meeting.
Right.
Hopefully we can do that at hopefully our next Select Board meeting.
Yeah.
And we'll just take a portion of that and we'll call it a joint meeting as well.
Right.
And that's where we're at there.
And Donna, do you know if the position has been posted So the other thing is that as a select board, we have a policy to post open positions for 2 weeks.
For 2
before we-
weeks.
Yeah, so we just need to make sure that that also gets posted because I wouldn't want it to hold anything up further.
All right. We'll catch it at the end. So anyways, that takes care of that. Any questions from the board? Kirk?
No, I have no questions.
All right. So we're going to move on to review of the agreement between the Town of Paxton and CMRPC for Paxton's Hazard Mitigation Plan update. Again, I got to scroll through all this stuff. There it is. And this is just the amendment that we're talking about, is that's correct? And it just says that this amendment is made and entered into this 18th day. You can tell I've been on vacation. Mouth isn't working right. This 18th day of July 2025, by and between the Town of Paxton, known as the Town, and the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission, known as CMRPC. Now, therefore, based on the foregoing premises and in consideration of the mutual covenants and agreements set forth in the subcontract dated September 12, 2023, the parties agree as follows. And this is in bold. Number 1, section 8.0, time of performance will be changed as follows. The Commission agrees to provide the services described herein for a period denoted in Attachment A, scope of services, as required by the contract between the town and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency. The deliverables are anticipated to be completed on or before December 30th, 2025. The authorizing signatures shall serve as the notice to proceed. And number 2, except as expressly modified herein, all terms and conditions of the agreement dated September 12, 2023 shall remain unchanged and in full force and effect. And it's asking for the date of the town the signature of the town administrator, which we do not have at this moment. We will have very shortly. Should we wait and have them sign it, or should we authorize the chairman of the board to sign this and pass it along?
I would just authorize the chair, that way it's just one less thing he has to work
So
with.
can I have a motion then to accept this amendment and authorize the chair to sign the document?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, sir.
No.
Hearing none. Julia?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Kirk?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. So I'll pop in tomorrow, Donna. Take care of that. And now going back up to the... next, we have to review of the contract with Civic Plus to update the platform for the town's website. And the Central Star, I mean, you guys have read this. You've had a chance to read through their proposal. It's going to be, looks like it's $4,000 for the first year and $4,000 for each year thereafter, and that's for maintenance of the website.
And this is the same cost from what I'm seeing that we've been paying right along.
Right.
Yeah.
So is there any question or comments regarding this?
No.
No.
Have you got the money?
Yep.
Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion then to go ahead and move forward with this?
I move that I'll second.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Julia?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Kirk?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And that takes care of that. I don't see anything under old business. We are on to our select board correspondence. I have been asked to read into the records a correspondence from our Finance Committee Chairman to the Board of Selectmen, my reply, and then the reply to my reply. So it starts off with...
Mr. Chairman, you don't have to read it into the record, I just wanted part of the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Yep.
I
And
thought...
part of the meeting materials, that would be sufficient.
Okay. All right, when I saw Select Board correspondence, I thought that meant you wanted it in there. That's fine. We'll add that into the materials, which I believe has already been posted, so we're good there. That's all the correspondence that I have. We're up to citizens speak. Donna, did anybody sign up? Actually, before Carl goes, David had asked to speak during. We're at citizens speak.
I just had a... Is this on? Oh, there we go.
Could identify yourself and your address?
David Bloom, 489 West Street. Roger Brunel told me that I could not serve on any other board if I was on the planning, if I was on the finance committee. Is that part of the town's laws and bylaws, or is that, so therefore, the option that you just mentioned really isn't an option?
No, it is. So I'm a little confused as to why he said that, because the Finance Committee bylaw that was more recently put into place does allow a provision for that. I'm not sure. I can't speak for Roger in terms of why he said you couldn't be on any other board or committee. There is a way to go about doing that.
Fair enough. So this sounds like an option that would work.
Yeah.
Right? And we just want to keep some continuity with the planning board and a quorum as we move into the important MTBA activities. So, good.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Carl?
So Carl Otmar, 232 West Street. Don't worry, I'm not making any amendments to anything tonight, so you can rest, all of you can rest assured for that. So I actually did wanted to speak on that topic, and it's really just more about the process of it. And so certainly I just encourage the select board, the way our bylaws are written, that it's really the, and this has come up earlier this year as well with the, after I had to resign right when our fourth child was born, so that the town had two people on the school committee. And regarding the appointment position there as well, I feel that the way our bylaws are written, that it's really seems like it should be the exception and not the rule of having members of the finance committee involved in other committees, other boards. And I think my read of it is that by not being involved in other parts of the town, it really helps preserve their independence, their autonomy, and ultimately I think it's probably kind of for the better. Certainly, I had to take a step down when our kids were born, but I've always been trying to do things to help this town. If there's a dire need for personnel, for quorum, for the planning board, I'd be willing to do that. Applied for the finance committee, but Mr. Bloom's got is quite decked out there, and so great for the town. But if I could help in that regard, then certainly I can forward once it's posted, I can forward my interest to Lori. The town has done it, and I just think that and maybe there's other people as well, someone even more qualified than me. Great, awesome, better for the town, a win for the town. And so I think that it's just really should be more the exception than the rule. And so I would just encourage the select board to take that into consideration, that if there's multiple folks who are interested, then hey, great, awesome, it's a great problem to have. Same thing that we talked about, or that you guys talked about with school committee appointment earlier this year, having more people. That's really what we want for the town, and it's a tough problem for you guys, but it's a good problem to have. And so, I encourage take the wide view of that, and just take that into your consideration.
Thank you.
I don't know that anybody necessarily disagrees with you, Carl, but we are at the point where it's difficult to get positions on boards and committees filled. And as a result, and certainly Mr. Bloom's application is not the only one, we've had others as well, that they're filling important positions that we just are having difficulty filling otherwise. So it becomes, and again, I wasn't part of the previous ones, obviously being a new member, but it becomes the responsibility of the select board to try to fill these positions to the very best of our ability. And if it means that if we need to take somebody and put them in 2 positions, then unfortunately, it's either that or leave it vacant. We don't want to do that. But certainly your point is well made and well spoken. Thank you. All right. Anybody else, Donna?
Yes, Mr. Love.
Mr. Love?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. There's nobody else here, so I've pretty much covered it. I don't think there's anybody online. I can't tell if there's.
Are you on the Zoom?
Yeah,
No, just.
Perfect. All right. That being said, I just need a motion, unless somebody on the select board has something else that they need to add. All right, just need a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Julia?
Aye?
Carol?
Aye.
Kirk?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.